to the rundown from Down Under. My name is Buddy Pulley. I am not joined by Seth Dolby today. He's taking a sabbatical this week after basically being up for 36 hours straight after our trip to Indianapolis. So I'm going to run the show by myself like I did a couple weeks ago in Chicago. We're going to knock this out and talk about Shane's great run at the greatest race course in the world. But first, let's talk about the amazing race that we saw. Riley Herbst took the victory. He had the dominant car of the day. He started outside the front row, Cole Custer. This race, a good buddy of mine, David Land, he said it best. This was the greatest stock car race ever at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The moves that were made, the ability to pass, the raceability of this car with this package was something like we've never seen at Indianapolis. Obviously, they had a super speedway type engine in the cars, and their normal rules package as far as aerodynamics. So that's a little bit different than what they would normally race at a Daytona or Talladega or Atlanta. But and it's the same type of package that they'll use at Michigan here in probably a couple weeks or a month. But it produced almost IndyCar style, Indy 500 style racing as far as like the way you were able to make slingshot moves and really just the amount of drafting that took place. But it wasn't the typical super speedway shish show, if you will. And just the race at the end, obviously, like I said just a second ago, Riley Herbst had the dominant car. Cole Custer was out front. Riley ran him down with Eric Almirola in tow. And then within the last couple laps, Riley gets past Cole Custer. And then they get to Riley attempts to pass Cole Custer out of turn 4 coming to the white. They get stuck racing side by side and punched about as big of a hole as you could punch in the air at Indianapolis. And they cross the yard of bricks to take the white flag 3 wide with Almirola up on the outside. Almirola makes a great pass to take the lead after he recovered from a spin earlier in the day. And then Riley tracked him back down. Like I said, had just a way faster car than everybody else. And just an excellent drive by Riley Herbst all day long. He tracks Almirola down. He gets right to his rear quarter panel, packs air on the spoiler, gets him off the bottom, and makes the most amazing save as he makes the pass on Eric while making the most amazing save I've ever seen in my life, hands down. I don't know what you guys call that in New Zealand and Australia, but that motion with the car, that's what we call full tilt boogie here in America. And Riley stayed in the gas, foot to the floor, down to the wood, whatever you want to call it, and motored off turn 4 and won the Brickyard 250 or whatever they call it. He won at Indianapolis. It's a huge deal, and especially for a guy like Riley, right? Like I said, he's caught a lot of hell because he's one of these pay drivers. His dad obviously afforded him a lot of the opportunities he's gotten, but that doesn't change the fact that 1, a lot of guys are like that. 2, Riley has put in the work and become a very talented race car driver. And that's something you have to respect. And just an all around good dude. And it's good to see him getting some success. Obviously, Indy's a big deal. That's the gist of the race. Obviously, we all know what we all came here for and why this show exists. And it's to talk about Shane Van Gisbergen. So let's go over the top 10 results and then talk about the main course, SVG's top 5 at Indy. Taking a look at the top 10 finishers from the Xfinity race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As I said before, Riley Herbst scored the victory, his second career Xfinity Series win. Cole Custer, defending champion, finishes second. Him and Riley flip-flopped their front row starting positions. Eric Almirola led into turn 4 but came out the other side in the third position. Shane Van Gisbergen finishes 4th. What a run for the Giz. Sheldon Creed came across the line in 5th. Austin Hill, obligatory fuck Austin Hill, he finished in the 6th position. SVG's college racing teammates Daniel Dye and AJ Allmendinger came across the yard of bricks in the 7th and 8th position. Justin Allgaier finished 9th, and Carson Kvapil, the late model standout, yet again with another top 10 finish in the Xfinity Series. Shane started 23rd, obviously finished 4th. Great climb for him. Just an overall fantastic performance from the Giz. And he remains 13th in the points, but stays atop the Xfinity Series playoff standings. All right, so as you saw there, Shane got a top 5 finish. It was a really a typical Shane Van Gisbergen day. And he came out the other side without any adversity in the 4th position. I mean, it's not much different than what we've seen out of Shane Van Gisbergen all year long. He will qualify mid-pack because qualifying's hard. And, it's a lot of times, it's literally first 20 laps he's ever gotten on the actual racetrack. And so, qualifying to mid-pack. He did do something a little bit different that we haven't seen as much from Shane in the first stage. A lot of times in the first stage, he spends most of it feeling out the car and relatively, stagnant. And it makes sense because he's got to fill out the car, the track, and determine what he needs for stage 2 and forward. But a friend of ours and friend of the show, Cook Virus, pointed out on Twitter that Shane finally did something the first stage. He made a lot of ground up. Obviously, there was a wreck on lap 1. He missed that. He gained 4 or 5 spots from that. And then he was money on restarts. And that's something that I feel like Shane has struggled a little bit with on these ovals, but not today, or not Saturday. Every restart, he was on the attack. And I think it speaks to, 1, the car was really good. And 2, I think he's finally at the point where he's comfortable, or at least comfortable enough to attack. I feel like early in the season there were flashes. Atlanta, he finished 3rd. He finished top 10 at Phoenix and had really good restarts there. But it definitely seemed as though he was kind of letting the race come to him, and it wasn't the attack that we see on road courses and you guys are accustomed to seeing in supercars. Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties there. Anyway, as I was saying, Shane, all year long, it seemed like he's let the race come to him. And this and even poking out a little bit, seemed like the first time where I noticed that from the jump, or maybe not from the jump, he felt comfortable and felt like I can go from the drop of the green flag, attack, and you see the fruits of that. And he finishes 4th. It helps that Kaulig brought him a very fast race car. They seem to be getting a lot better. Obviously, AJ Allmendinger was good. AJ's been better the past couple weeks, and it's reflected in Shane's performance as well. You see the potential of the car and Shane's confidence in racing ovals is they're rising at a steady level, and that's really good because he's going into the playoffs where he's got a good shot at least making a decent run, and he's going to start seeing some of these tracks for a second time, which is only going to help him a lot more. Look at some of my notes here. Yeah. Really, I mean, if you look at this race, the most impressive thing to me, even though it was they were using a super speedway package, the most impressive thing to me was that Shane was able to take the fight to the Xfinity's best. And obviously we know Shane's ability. We all are confident in it, right? But Indy's a tough track. It's a fickle track, especially in a stock car. I mean, I can't imagine, I don't know, unlike me, if he's seen anything like that other than Pocono last week. So that was impressive to me. We have seen him be pretty good in the draft, like Atlanta. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, finished third. He was in the mix at Talladega, did decent at Daytona. But he, you look at who was up there. It was Herbst. It was the defending champion Cole Custer. It was the 20 car of Almirola. That car is, lights out pretty much every week. It was Justin Allgaier. It was AJ Allmendinger. It was the guys in the Xfinity series, the guys that he's going to have to fight in the playoffs. And he was taking the fight to him, and he came out the other side better a lot of more time or than most of them at the end of this deal. And that's a big deal. Indy, not so much in the Xfinity series, just because there's not as much history on the oval for Indianapolis. But as far as the Cup Series, the winner at Indy is, or not even just the winner, whoever does good at Indy, it's typically a really good indication of a driver's and a team's potential for the entire season. And the fact that Shane came out here and ran fourth is that is light. That is light at the end of the tunnel. So obviously we were at Indy, had a great day pulling for Shane. I was wanting to get everything he got. I think he got to fifth or sixth, and Seth was like, I was like, come on, Shane, attack. And Seth's like, maybe you should just chill right here. Things might get wild. But obviously he came home fourth, and we were high-fiving. We brought a friend of ours, Tyler, who has grown an affinity for Shane Van Gisbergen over the season. Tyler is one of my best friends, and he was a fan of NASCAR back in the late 90s, was a big Jeff Gordon fan, and had kind of fallen off. I kind of got him back into it here 5 or 6 years ago, and he hasn't picked the driver. He's been pretty steadfast about not picking a driver, but I think we've got him on the bandwagon, and I think he's really taking a liking to Shane. We also saw Shane during the before driver intros when they were walking the yard of bricks. We had our nation's flag. I wish I could show you, but had our nation's flag out there for him to sign. I had to sign it again. Shane's like, "How many times are you gonna get me to sign it?" Yeah, as many times as I see you, dude. But no, it was really cool to get another autograph, Shane, get to see him. We also held the flag up for Austin Hill, and he was like, "You want me to sign that?" And we, all three of us, unanimously gave him a very emphatic no. So obligatory fuck Austin Hill, right? But no, he was a good sport about that. But it was obviously really cool to see Shane, and first time Seth's seen him, and obviously my buddy Tyler, who's a new Shane fan, got to see him. But Indy was amazing. We talked more about our trip overall in the Big Murder Small Blade podcast. But yeah, other than that, just a great run for Shane. Really proud of his progress. I say every week I continue to be impressed, but Seth corrects me and says, or no, I say I'm surprised. Seth corrects me and says I should be just maybe impressed. I shouldn't be surprised by anything Shane does because he's quite amazing. All right, so this week's video of the week segment, it was submitted by Steve Timmons, 7039. It was a video titled SVG Wild or Mad. It's from Sydney Motorsports Park in October of 2015. The video starts out with Shane passing an opponent. You guys know the name. He was obviously on the panel of people talking during this video. So let me know down in the comments who it was. I know we've talked about him before, but the name's slipping my mind. Anyway, drives past him, gives a thumbs up as he goes by, much like he did Kyle Larson at Chicago. I thought that was badass. It's honestly big dick energy from Shane, but also just it shows how the appreciation he has for just good hard racing. So that's good to know that that's a universal thing in all of his racing. But the main topic of this video is talking about him when he cools his tires down in the grass. He dips off to the inside of the racetrack to dip his left side tires into the wet grass. Obviously, it's been raining, and apparently he did that on the other side of the track to cool his right side tires. I looked at it, I thought that was an IQ move by Shane. Like that's great. I feel like we've seen this in the Xfinity series on a wet track before. Can't remember who it was, but anyway, like I said, I thought it was a very smart move. But the jackass, his one jackass, I don't know who it was. Please enlighten me. Called it a bad example and called it Mad with 2 Ds or 3 Ds. And like I said, just a bad example for younger drivers that would look up to Shane and think, this is an acceptable move to make. What a head ass opinion to have. Like, oh my God. He went on to say, no risk, or understand this is a risk reward game. And I agree, it is a risk reward game, but he said the risk was way too high for the reward. In my opinion, that's what makes Shane that much better than everybody else. It's the minute details and those, as I said earlier, 1,000 IQ moves that make Shane great and separates him from just a good driver. And I mean that dude, he's confident in his ability. He's, like I said, I think he's just the greatest race car driver in the world. Clearly, this guy needs to watch the Big Motor Small Blade podcast, and maybe he'll realize who the fuck he's talking about. Obviously, it was a long time ago, so I honestly don't know exactly what I'm talking about or who I'm talking about. But this is just my opinion from a dumb American. Either way, I thought it was a great move. I thought the opinion of the panel talking about it was ridiculous. And I mean, look, I don't know. It was a great video, and I enjoyed it. Whether the commentator was talking about it good or not, yeah, and I'll definitely be calling Shane's over. Other than that, that's all I have for the rundown down under. Sorry, that's technical difficulties there. But hopefully Seth will be back next week. Or I guess not next week. We got a couple weeks off. So I don't know what we're gonna do. Any suggestions, leave them down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Seriously, we are at 760 some subscribers right now. Much of the credit is to you guys. And we are on a hell of a streak, and we're about to break a streak of of videos over 100 views. So we'll definitely celebrate that when that occurs. I'm sure this will help for sure. Make sure you listen to the Big Motor Small Blade podcast this week from Indianapolis. And of course, please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can do more cool things for you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.